Hello. Welcome, everyone. KSR Zoom action. We're back. This is going to be a fun episode. I think this will be our first actual real fun episode of the season,
Jeez,
other than
yeah.
the very first one we were like, it's just one game, but and I said Jasper Johnson was going to score 30 points and all those fun things. What a fun time that was a little over a month ago now. But now we actually have some fun stuff to talk about, Brandon. As always, Zach Agan here, joined by Brandon Ramsey, KSR's basketball film breakdown show, Zoom action. Yeah, we're going to cover the Indiana game. Kentucky won 72-60 on Saturday. The first Power 4 win of the season for the Cats. Wasn't a pretty basketball game by any means, but it was a fun basketball game. And I'll take fun over pretty, especially when the outcome is a win every single time. So we have a handful of different things queued up for you all today. We're going to do offense, defense, kind of just look at all the positivities of what it means to have Jaylen Low back in the lineup, what it means to have Mo Diabate back in the lineup, how those two guys really just changed the dynamic of Kentucky on both ends of the floor with their specific skill sets. Like I said, it's not pretty all the times. It sure wasn't perfect, but you beat a quality opponent. You really kind of shut them down in the second half entirely on defense. Kentucky only gave up 21 points in that second half, outscored them by 19. So really terrific. I don't even think they hit a field goal for the final 4 minutes, Indiana did. So terrific team defense from Kentucky to close this one out. That might just have to be where the identity of this team shifts, is maybe more defensive focused than offensive focused. We can touch on more of that stuff as we get along here. But before we actually start to dive into the film and look at our clips from our man Zero Ball Zero, O Ball O, whatever he is on YouTube, the GOAT who always has the replay breakdowns. But I'm going to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, still LG&E. Let me run through this real quick and then we'll dive into the fun stuff. LG&E and KU knows that when the lights go out, it can feel like a full court press, but staying in the know is an easy win. Update your phone number in the LG&E and KU mobile app or in My Account. If the power goes out, you'll get play-by-play text from 454-358 with outage updates, safety information, and time estimates for power restoration. If you can't text, that's not a problem. We'll call the landline on your account with the same updates so you're never left in the dark. Because in the dark, there's no defense. Kentucky, they're always in the light. They got plenty of defense right now. But with LG&E and KU, you've always got a team working to get the lights back on and let you know the game plan. Update your number today at lge-ku.com/outages. Brandon, we're going to go. You had a handful of clips, offensive stuff that you wanted to kind of focus on. I think both of them are in the first half. I think the second one is in the first half as well, the second clip we're about to show. But essentially, we're going to start here with just how Jaylen Low makes Kentucky's offense work a little bit more. Not so it's not Denzel Aberdeen or Colin Chandler, not to their fault or anything. They're kind of being put in bad spots, but when they're kind of just piddling the ball around in the middle of the floor, you don't really feel confident that something good's going to happen. You kind of don't feel or have that as much anxiety whenever Jaylen Low is in there. So I believe I'm queued up right here where you want to start. And I'm gonna let this play run, and I'm gonna let you dissect it after it finishes up here. But essentially, what we're gonna get here is the end result is a Jaylen Low floater in the paint here for easy 2 points. It doesn't look like on the surface that much is going on there, Brandon, but I know that you've got 100 different things that you're gonna point out about this play. So I'm gonna pause it right here and let you do your thing. Put on that coach hat for us.
Well, the thing that to me this really shows, and this is probably this might have been Jaylen Low's first bucket of the game. I assume it probably
I think
was.
So.
One of our complaints, probably to put it lightly, about this Kentucky offense so far this season has been that it kind of feels like that it was built around Jaylen Low's skill set, but we haven't had Jaylen Low, and we were kind of putting a square peg in a round hole by trying to make Denzel Aberdeen still play the Jaylen Low role, or make Colin Chandler play the Jaylen Low role. And we've all seen it with our eyes. It hasn't been working, very well. So now it was good to see, hey, this is why Coach Pope wanted to set more middle ball screens. This is why the offense has been looking the way that it has. Now we could all maybe still say, well, could you not, change things up a little bit because Jaylen Low's not playing? But
still be nice to have a shooter.
Yeah, that ship has sailed at this point. We lost those games. It is what it is. All you can do is get better going forward. But I think that you're going to see Kentucky be better going forward because now you're able to utilize some of the offense that was put in place for a dynamic playmaker like Jaylen Low, because you can see it really right at the point of this ball screen, the way that he gets separation from his man number 5, Connor, in right here, and gets downhill. Like right now, this is the first Kentucky player that we've seen this season, at least against quality opponents. I mean, again, I know it's a big Blue Nation thing to say you need a win and then immediately say like, oh well, IU stinks, and that that's just something that we tend to do
As
sometimes.
sports fans, yeah.
IU came in as like I think they were ranked like 21st in KenPom defensive efficiency. One, IU doesn't stink. Two, their defense is pretty darn good. It just is. And Jaylen Low was able to consistently get penetration against them. And this is a team. I said it on Twitter the other day. I think Kentucky was like 14 to 29 on layups, which is obviously not good. Now, right. IU came in, they were sixth in the country in 2-point percentage defense. So something they do well, even without having shot blockers, is they do protect the rim. They get people to miss inside the arc. So does Kentucky need to be better? Yes, but this is a good example against a good defense of Jaylen Low being able to get a paint touch, make something happen. And we just haven't seen that from Kentucky's guards this season when put in similar situations, how they're able to actually get downhill, put some pressure on the defense, create their own buckets. And it was really good to see Jaylen Low do that. Does he need to get more efficient? Yes. Do I think that'll come with time? Probably so. But it was just good to see some real penetration from Kentucky offensively on Saturday night.
And a little small note here is you get Mo Diabate kind of setting the fake illegal screen. Yeah, the seal, like, just kind of putting a little elbow into his man there, just creates a little bit more space for Jaylen Low. And yeah, like kind of to your point about the 2-point defense from Indiana, like they obviously were very good, but we would be lying to ourselves if we said that there wasn't 5 or 6 that were just completely blown layups by Kentucky.
Wide open layups.
Yeah, Jaylen Low had a couple. I think Cam Williams had one. Maybe Colin Chandler had one as well. So I think Ortega had one as well. But a lot of it didn't matter because Kentucky was able to get offensive rebounds and things like that. And we'll dive into some of that stuff more. But yes, to your overall point, like they're going to have to get better at converting those shots. But I think this is a good start here because this is not a play that I don't think we would trust Denzel Aberdeen or Colin Chandler or Ortega Owe to make, like to kind of pop himself back out on the free throw line, readjust, get himself back into the lane. Going against a smaller guard too.
Look, those guys like Denzel Aberdeen's athletic enough, he's big enough, he can rise up and kind of shoot that little jump shot we've seen from him sometimes.
He loves that one, yeah.
Ortega Owe would have dribbled it off his knee out of bounds at some point during that play. Colin Chandler probably is actually the most comfortable of those other guys in terms of like we've seen him turn the corner and kind of put his butt back into the guy and play with some pace and get downhill. But even he obviously isn't that's not his best game by any means. So yeah, I just think that sure, do you have to get better at making the layups? Yes, but as I also said, you can't make them unless you get to shoot them. And I think that we're going to shoot a lot more layups with Jaylen Low in the game than Kentucky certainly was prior to his return.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on here, go right into our second play, and this was the Mo Diabate effect here. So we're starting off with some low impact. Now we're going to go in a little bit more of the Mo impact and how he was able to help and how he kind of fills not even close to the Amari Williams role, obviously, but he is just a little bit more of a skilled forward, so you can put the ball in his hands and let him operate and let him make decisions a little bit more than maybe you would someone like Cam Williams, who is kind of controlling the same sort of positioning on the court for Kentucky. But this is just a simple, smart play. They do a horn setup here. You got Kentucky with the horn setup. You got Malachi and Mo. Just an easy pass here. I'll get to it in a second about the screen. I'll let this keep going through. But just Mo lets the play develop. Make sure he's bigger than the rest of the guys around him, and he is, and just kind of bullies his way past Tucker DeVries there for an easy 2 at the bucket. Brandon, I'm going to have a question because I know screen setting has been a big thing on social media the last couple of days. Spencer Smith, who does great work, had like a whole video about the screening and things like that. And I will have a question about this particular play just to see what your coach brain has to say. But let's hear what your thoughts on this. What did you like about this play?
Yeah, what I had to say about this was we've seen Kentucky in the last couple of games get back to a little bit more zoom action, the down screen into a handoff.
There was a decent amount, it felt like, in this game.
Right, absolutely. And it was effective, believe it or not. When Kentucky did go
weird
to our podcast namesake of zoom action, but then also they ran a lot of sets out of these horns alignments, and all of that stuff is going to become more effective when you have a guy like Mo Diabate who can do this. Now, based on it was a couple possessions before this, Kentucky ran a very similar set out of horns, and I believe Malachi might have handed it off to Otega Oweh in sort of a zoom action. He turned the corner. But this time, I'm pretty sure it's probably a called set for Mo to keep it and drive it left. So I think this is kind of a called play from the sidelines. But it having that dynamic, having that guy who can, drive it left, even at the highest levels of college basketball, sometimes the defense forgets that guys are left-handed. Like it really is worth a bucket or two a game. So that helps him get downhill. But then also he's big, he's physical. Like, well, one of the things, if you can go back to like right when he gets downhill, this was my favorite part about this play and what I think Coach Pope deserves some credit for. Right, just pause it right there. Notice how Otega Oweh's defender went underneath. He was kind of one remove there, so that Mo Diabate's guy had to give space for Otega Oweh's man to go underneath. That's a very nuanced thing that I'm pretty sure that Coach Pope and the staff know. When Oweh comes off those handoffs, they're going to go underneath that because Oweh is not a guy that's going to settle behind and shoot it from three. You want to stay between him and the basket. But by going under, that gave Mo a little bit of a head of steam getting downhill. So now because his man had to back up, Mo can take up that space, get his shoulder into his man, and that's how he's able to get downhill here and be strong and finish it. So you're going to see him still hand it off. You're going to see him fake the handoff some and get downhill. You're going to see him do some called sets like this for him to sort of ISO from the elbow. But I just think that from a defensive perspective, everything is harder to guard for Kentucky when you have that kind of dynamic playmaking four-man who's able to do some things with the ball in his hands. And we certainly saw that in this possession and throughout the game from Mo Diabate making his return to the Kentucky lineup.
Yeah, another good seal there from Malachi as well to help carve just a little bit more space for Mo. But the question I have here is, so the screening has been a big talk of the last couple of days, whatever. Yeah. And obviously there's times where they are trying to set physical screens, and there's times where they're trying to slip them, ghost them, kind of make them not felt by the defense. Right. So my question here is, on this screen from Mo here, is this a designed, like, let's be light on it so I can come over and get this easy pass from Malachi? Because Mo's had a bunch of really good hard screens in this game, so you'd have to think that maybe that's part of the plan baked in. Like, just kind of explain to us, why he, like, the screen here he sets is not really a screen. He just kind of sets himself up, lets the guy go by him. It doesn't really do anything to actually get Denzel some space. Obviously, that's not where the play is going or anything. So just kind of walk us through that. If you can.
I would say there, like, if you have the opportunity to set a real physical screen there, I think you're going to take it because, Malachi could turn and, throw it to Denzel, kind of curl into the basket. Like, that probably is, in theory, the first read here. Like, if Denzel's man gets screened, just throw it to him for a layup as he curls to the basket. Also, if you have a nice physical screen there, it can kind of create the same effect that I was talking about with Oweh's man going under. If Mo sets a really physical screen there, his man has to help back towards the basket to take away that layup. So now Mo catches it again with a chance to close that space and get ahead of steam going downhill. So, but I would say in this setting, there was very little space between like where Denzel started his cut and where Mo was setting that screen. So, like, could Denzel set it up a little bit better to come off tighter and make his man run into the screen? But like, there's not a whole lot of space there, like for Mo to go seek out the defender. So I'm not going to get like too upset about Mo not really screening there. To me, that's more of a, you're kind of just going through the motions of the play. Also, like, if you really wanted to screen that guy, I think there's some things that honestly Denzel Aberdeen could do to make that happen more. Because like I said, there just wasn't really time and space for Mo to go find that defender. Like, quite frankly, I think if Mo like slides over to really screen in right there, like, probably better chance he gets an illegal screen called than Kentucky gets a layup. So that maybe isn't the perfect example of like really whiffing on a screen, but it is something that 100%. And I said this on KS Board the other day after watching Spencer's video. Like, there are more things that go into screening than just like yelling at the guy to, hey, be more physical. Like, right. Sometimes it is on the cutter. Like, the cutter has to allow you to be a good screener too. There's timing. There's all these different things about what the play is that go into that. So it's not always just like, oh, well, Malachi Moreno's soft. Like, that's why he's a bad screener. Like, well, Yeah, I mean, maybe sometimes, but sometimes he's thinking about slipping it and trying to roll hard. And sometimes maybe the ball screener didn't, or the ball handler didn't wait for him to get set. So now he can't set it or else he's going to get an illegal screen, or the timing of the play was off. And, there's different things like that. And a lot of those things are quite honestly too nuanced, even for, guys like Spencer, guys like me that a lot of times know what we're seeing. Like, if you don't know the play call, if you don't know, if you're not in practice, you can't really even break that stuff down on film necessarily. So, but he is 100% right. Kentucky generally has a screening problem this year. I'm certainly not debating that being an issue.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up, is just get from your perspective, is that something that you're noticing as well? Sure. Just from my more untrained eye compared to yours. So, good stuff there from Mo. We'll go ahead and transition. We're going to do a little bit of Brandon Garrison talk.
Sweet.
So we got a few different plays from Brandon Garrison. I was very adamant about his playing time in the last rapid reaction following the North Carolina Central game. Thought he shouldn't play again.
You were kind of a meanie. You were being mean.
I was a meanie, but I feel like I was a little bit justified in the fact, outside the first 2 games of the season, we really hadn't seen any sort of effort to that level that we saw in this Indiana game from Brandon Garrison, just in terms of his, it just felt like his head wasn't always in the game. And, if he was, even Mark Pope agreed with me. He's benched his ass for the last, 25 minutes of the game because he thought he just wasn't, like, he had just seen enough. Like, Brandon Garrison was the starter for 5 games and then was benched for Malachi Moreno and then got literally benched on the 10th game of the season. So clearly, like, this is not, like, it wasn't anything ridiculous to say. I wish I hadn't said it, if I'm being perfectly honest, but because, of course, in the very next game, he comes in and plays really well. But I will give Brandon Garrison a lot of credit because the mental toughness I think it took for a kid like him who was a starter, then, like, slowly but surely just kind of saw his spot on this team kind of diminish, knowing that you got a guy like Jaden Quayton's coming in too. Like, that has to be tough for him. So I give him a lot of credit for having the mental toughness to really respond. And it looked like he was just having fun again for maybe the first time since the first couple games of the season. He was actually having fun out there. He didn't put up monster stats or anything, but he had some really fun moments in this game. Not a perfect game from him. He had a couple bad turnovers, but he had some really, really fun moments, and we're going to touch on a few of them here. I think even one of your plays later on that we'll talk about, I think has, like, Brandon Garrison involved as well. So, but we've got 2 different plays here that I just wanted to touch on here. This first one, just I think this is his backdoor cut hit that he gets to Cam here. And you just see, to Denzel, yeah. So just, and I'm not even going to, like, nitpick and, like, we'll dive into all these plays. I'll let you talk about them as you want. But this is the stuff that we just hadn't seen from Brandon Garrison the last few games. Like, just being very pinpointed, very calculated, playing within himself, doing what he knows to do, like, spots Connerway just kind of slacking a little bit, sees Denzel cutting. Good cut from Denzel, something we haven't really seen too much from the team this year. Is some good cuts. So just a great pass and finish for BG there, or to Denzel. So I really liked what we saw there, and I think he ends up having a pretty solid defensive play on this next clip. Like, this is kind of a very quick hitting stuff here. I think he does a good job of kind of giving a little bit of a contest there, making sure number 4 can't get in to get the rebound. That's not really what I'm here to talk about with this play, though, because he does, like what you're about to see here is, first of all, 2 games ago, Brandon Garrison shoots this and probably misses it. Like, he actually missed a 3 in this game that you still probably don't want him taking, but the scouting report on him is that he will take that 3. He will make it. I think he had hit a couple kind of previous. Great pump fake, and then does this 2-step, like the bunny hop step move here. Like, for a 6'10" guy, like, that's a pro level move for a guy like him to be able to do that. So I was really impressed with just the decision making here. Get himself in the lane and then finish the left hand, I thought was really good. So I was really happy what we saw with Brandon Garrison on those 2 plays in particular. Anything you want to add to those before I go to one more that I've got on him?
3 really quick points. First off, you said it. Denzel Aberdeen, great cut on that last one. Don't want to take anything away from BG's pass, but we've talked about it on this show where Kentucky, and it was still true at times against Indiana, but Kentucky has a standing problem. For a team that doesn't shoot it very well, Kentucky stands with their hands and feet ready on the perimeter as if they're all elite shooters. Like, this team needs to be very cut-oriented, especially guys like Denzel Aberdeen. Not that I don't want him taking inside out catch and shoot threes, but I'd rather him do this, quite frankly, utilize his size, his athleticism, his quickness. So that was excellent to see Denzel Aberdeen cut there. 2, the reason a lot of times am the Brandon Garrison defender is because like plays like this, and I say it all the time, nobody, and I pretty much mean nobody, like Michigan, Arizona, Duke, the best teams in college basketball, their backup centers don't do things like what we just saw. Their backup centers don't drive it and from a live dribble hit a guy on a backdoor pass. Their backup centers don't shot fake and drive it to a little, side 2-foot Euro step for a layup. Like most teams' backup centers, you ask them to ball screen, rebound, and stay the heck out of the way. Like the reason that Brandon Garrison gets some criticism is because we actually ask him to contribute to basketball. Most teams' backup centers aren't.
He should, though.
Correct. But like most teams' backup centers are in there, quite frankly, to rest their starting center. Like Brandon Garrison, we like throw stuff at him and ask him to play make. So that's why mistakes happen. And then lastly, this was something I said in our group chat the other day. Part of what got Brandon Garrison that drive to the basket was Jaylen Low penetration. Like before Jaylen Low was in the game, Kentucky very often wasn't getting guys in closeout situations because we couldn't get paint touches. Like here, Jaylen Low was able to drive it in there, get 2 feet in the paint. You see the defense collapse on him. Defenses weren't collapsing like that when Jaylen Low wasn't playing in the basketball game. So now you have this long closeout to Brandon Garrison that he's able to attack. And I think the guys like Otega Owe, like Denzel Aberdeen, we even saw Trent Noah do it a couple times in this game, attack closeouts and get into the teeth of the paint. That's all made easier because there are closeout situations to attack, and those are made by Jaylen Low. So like Jaylen Low doesn't get an assist for this play, but Brandon Garrison doesn't score 2 points if Jaylen Low doesn't get that first paint touch. So credit to Low there as well on this play.
Yeah, I stopped counting once Low hit double digits, but he had at least 10 paint touches in this game. So I imagine that helps. That just helps your offense flow a little bit more. So, and I got one more BG play. I kind of forget exactly what is going to happen here. Oh, yes, some good defense to start. And then, then he runs the floor here. I need to let this play develop here so I figure out how it goes. Yes, that's the back cut to Cam Williams.
Come on.
That's awesome basketball. And this is both ends of the floor here. Like, Cam deserves just as much credit as well. I'm kind of shouting out Cam and BG on both these plays. Like, on the defense here, a little late on the actual switch here because Jaylen Low just gets absolutely smothered by screens because he's 5'8" or whatever it is. But Cam and BG both to go up there and make this just an impossible shot for Conaway, who realizes it at the last second and then throws it right to Otega. BG, great job running the floor, playing hard. Get yourself into your spot immediately. You've got the mismatch already. Just beautiful, easy basketball. Great finish by Cam Williams. And man, if Cam Williams can just start hitting some shots, dude, he's going to turn into a really good ball player because he just brings it on pretty much every other aspect of the game besides the three-point shooting. He just cannot stop shooting over the rim for whatever reason right now. So huge shout out to Cam and BG on that play. I just wanted to give Brandon Garrison his flowers because I thought it was a terrific outing from him. Took a lot of strength and mental awareness, I think, to be able to fight back, and I think another part of it too is like he knows that if he doesn't start playing well, like he's not going to have a spot. With Jaden Quaintance coming in. So, it's better to have a bunch of players that are playing well and have to figure out the minutes that way than just kind of being stuck. So, Brandon, never mind. I won't get into that. But, and another thing I wanted to point out actually on this play is Jaylen Low is probably going to get rocked on pretty much every screen that he has to go through, but it's the defense that you saw right here why it doesn't necessarily concern me, especially when a guy like Jaden Quaintance is coming back, because I think as long as there's a guy like Jaden Quaintance hanging out down there, I think that he'll be able to cover up for a decent amount of Low's ball handling defensive or ball screen defensive issues. I guess we'll see how that all plays out. I'm not sure what your thoughts on that are in particular, but I do think it won't mask it entirely, but it'll hide it a little bit and make it so you can allow to have Jaylen Low, who's not exactly a plus defender. He's good, like at swiping the ball away. I think he even had one where he just like put his hand in the cookie jar and got a nice steal. But he's not gonna be able to fight around these screens and stuff. So, anything else you want to add before we move on here?
It's an aggressive play at the rim, and that's what we've talked about so much this season, where Kentucky gets caught in between. I've said it every podcast, often wrong but never in doubt. Like, just Brandon Garrison kind of leaves his man. Like, if one of these dudes out here for IU just cuts towards the basket, like, they can just probably lay it up on him here too. But they're busy setting a screen, so like, I love it. I mean, yeah, sometimes maybe Brandon Garrison fouls there, or sometimes the guy does cut and he gives up a dunk behind him. But guess what? This time he didn't, and it turned into 2 points for us on the other end. So when you're not like elitely sound defensively on every possession, which to this point this season Kentucky hasn't been, we certainly know that. So like, then be really athletic, be really aggressive, and we saw. I mean, Kentucky forced 18 turnovers against an IU team that to that point really didn't turn the ball over very much this season. So if that can become a little bit of an identity for Kentucky, then I think it'll be really good, because they have the athleticism, they have the length, and then you add in a complete showstopper at the rim in Jaden Quainance. And I think that, these sort of plays where somebody drives it and Lamar Wilkerson's thinking, sweet, I got a layup. And then, oh crap, there's this big dude about ready to swap my stuff into the 10th row.
Yeah.
Then that's how you get a steal, and you go the other way and you lay it in. So love the aggressiveness. Another great cut by Cam Williams. It was definitely probably Kentucky's best cutting game of the season. We saw from Trent Noah a couple of times. Cam Williams, we already showed the Denzel Aberdeen one. Very good cutting game from Kentucky.
And I'm gonna say, before we move on, I'm gonna kind of go on a little bit of an aside, but actually, just this lineup that's on the floor here right now. This was the lineup that sparked the 17-2 run. So I think you had like one of these, like I think Cam came in for Denzel Aberdeen while Otega was shooting free throws. They went on like an 8-0, 9-0, 10-0 run with this group on the floor. Then you interchanged Brandon Garrison with Malachi Moreno, and then they went on another 7-2 run to create the 17-2 run, and that was over a 6-minute span, and that was the ball game that ended the game. And like, this is kind of like right at the beginning of it here. That 17-2 run. So that group in particular, this group that's here on the floor right now was plus 11 in their 9 minutes together. Like, they were the best group that Kentucky had from a plus minus standpoint.
And who is that, Zach? Is that Low,
Otega, Brandon Garrison, Cam Williams, and Mo Diabate.
So Williams is 3 here.
Yes.
And,
so there's not much actual shooting, especially with, Cam theoretically is your shooter, but he hasn't been hitting too much. But I think the defense that you're allowed to play with this lineup,
long athletic lineup.
Exactly. And Cam is just, again, like, he blocked a 3-pointer with like a couple minutes left in this game. Like, he's very active. He does a lot of stuff that does not show up on the box score. Like you said, like, and it wasn't just this group in general. Like, Indiana, season high, 18 turnovers. Kentucky turned those into 23 points the other way. Mo Diabate had 5 steals. Did you know Malachi Moreno had 4 steals and 2 blocks in this game? It didn't even feel like it at all. Like,
I didn't, but I love it.
And Mark Pope was very particular with his rotations in the second half here. Like, let me pull up the article. I wrote the stats down, but so basically this 5 that was on the floor right now kind of swapped out with Malachi and then Denzel Aberdeen a little bit. That was the 7 guys that played in the second half. Like, that was pretty much it. Like, you had, let's see, 9 guys had at least 7 minutes in the first half of this game. Only six guys had 10 or more minutes in the second half. So it was like Pope was very particular. Like, I know Yelovich didn't play a single second for the first time all season. Jasper Johnson had a season low 3 minutes, didn't even play in the second half. Like, Colin Chandler and Trent Noah started. They barely played in the second half as well. So I do think you saw Pope just kind of stick with what was working. It'll be interesting to see how that all kind of changes whenever Jaden Quainance makes his debut, which is coming up, whether that's Saturday against St. John's, Tuesday against Bellarmine, whenever, hopefully sometime within those 2 games, if not like a game after that. Yes, it was, and I thought like IU was destroying Kentucky by cuts in the first half. They chopped that down pretty much to nothing in the second half. Part of that was Lamar Wilkerson was just in foul trouble hell. He only had 3 points after halftime. His 12 points came within the first 15 minutes of the game. And then Kentucky was able to just pretty much, along with the foul trouble, like just kind of take him out of the game entirely. So just the whole defensive effort in the second half, and Pope kind of cutting down his rotation and picking out a core 7 guys, at least for this game. Like, that'll change game by game. I don't expect him to just stick with 7 guys every game the rest of the season. Like, he's going to have Colin Chandler and Trent Noah and Jasper Johnson. Like, those guys are going to have to come in and play, again, big time games, and I think they will. But it was just interesting to see how Pope handled the whole second half, because Kentucky they just blew him out of the water essentially. Like, they won by 19 points. What was the final second half score? 40-21. So, like, just a good coaching, I thought, from Pope. Really good effort from the players all around. But just wanted to kind of throw that in there before we moved on to the next stuff. If you wanted to chime in with anything, Brandon.
No, that was all very well said and appropriate, and I couldn't agree more. I thought that we the nice thing about having some depth isn't necessarily that you play all of the guys all of the time. It's that in given situations you can find the group to roll with, and it doesn't have to be the same dudes every time. I did that this time. Colin Chandler was on the outside looking in. Well, maybe against St. John's, maybe he hits 4 threes during the stretch where we go on a run. Now he's the one playing, and maybe it's Owe who's out, or maybe it's Denzel Aberdeen who's out, or whatever. So I think that like sometimes we think about depth as like, well, sweet, we get to play 11 guys, and sometimes there's a day for that. But I think that the most valuable part of depth is that it's still always going to be 7, 8, or 9. It just doesn't always have to be the same exact 7, 8, or 9. So you allow some dudes to flourish in certain matchups, or in while playing with certain lineups, or just allow somebody to have a bad day and allow somebody to have a great day. So I think that's what you saw from Kentucky in the second half, was just finding the group that clicked, and then, man, let's just roll with those dudes as they blow Indiana out of Rupp Arena in the second half.
Yeah, and probably the internal battle that Pope is dealing with is like, you kind of have to go through that first half of getting everyone to feel it, so then you can figure out what actually works. And unfortunately, that's how you.
Baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of a jokey thing to talk about, but like in this sense, like, it actually worked. It's unfortunate because Kentucky's down 7 at halftime, and it feels like they do find the way to get in these holes. And if Pope doesn't find that right lineup or rotation for that specific game in time, like they did against Indiana, that's how you get games like Gonzaga. And that's different. You didn't have Low, or you didn't have Diabate. Like, I get it. It's a completely different situation. Or no, Low played against Gonzaga, didn't he? Just didn't play much at all, or am I misremembering that?
He played some.
Played, but like that was kind of a very loose thing, and then came off the bench against NC Central. That's right.
14 minutes against Gonzaga.
Yeah, so that's kind of just the internal battle I'm sure he's dealing with. Is like, that's why you get the depth, is so you can figure out what pieces are working. Just it can put you in holes, and like it did against Indiana, but they found the right group, and he stuck and rolled with that group, and they just destroyed this Indiana team from pretty much the 15-minute mark of the second half till the end of the game. But we're gonna move on here. This is like a back-to-back play, back-to-back plays here that Brandon has picked out. Kind of a back-to-back possessions is what I meant to say. And I'm gonna let it run here through. I think, it's good team defense first, I think, is your main point on this one, and then
I think we're gonna go defense, offense, and a really good stretch here.
Yeah, and the offense part is the most fun part of the entire game, and we'll talk about it in a second here. Or at least it was my favorite part of the whole game. So again, notice the 5 that are on the floor here. It's the 5 that we were just talking about. Like this, we're still in the middle of Kentucky's 17-2 run, early into their 17-2 run here. But this is just great connective defense is what Brandon wants to talk about here. Leads to, I forget exactly what it leads to here, but it leads to no points for Indiana. Boy, poor Tucker DeVries. He just could not really get himself going at all in this game. Great stuff from Brandon Garrison there. Love seeing him get hyped up a little bit. And then this is the moment where Jaylen Low misses this layup, believe it or not. But this is what gives us the best part of the whole game, because I'm sure a lot of people have seen Wildcat Tongue's tweet where it was basically this screenshot. It was like, guess who gets the rebound right here? And the answer is somehow Mo Diabate, because he just channeled his inner Oscar Tshiebwe here and just decided that he's going to find a way to get this ball and go over everyone, knocking guys to the floor. Tough. I mean, that's a tough shot too. Tough layup. So really proud, really impressive stuff there from Mo Diabate. But let's go ahead and rewind everything here. And Brandon, I'm going to let you do your thing here.
Yeah, this is just such a good defensive possession by all five guys. First, I know you talked about Jaylen Low getting screened, and he does sometimes because he's small. So when he gets screened, it's like kind of violent. But he also, because he's small, he actually kind of can be a little slippery at times of like not getting screened because he can get himself thin. And like right here, he fights over this screen pretty well to stay within right. And then you have Otega Owe closing out aggressively to Lamar Wilkerson. Do I love flying by him? Not really, but you get him to dribble it and get him to go inside the arc. I mean, I said it in my scouting report when breaking down the Hoosiers. Lamar Wilkerson is a guy, and this is the way I literally put this in scouting reports when I was coaching. If he's not dribbling, you're not close enough. Like we're not talking about contesting when we're talking about shooters like Wilkerson. If you're contesting, it's too late. You've already lost. You want this guy to not shoot the threes, so you're running him off the line is not a bad thing. Then you have a good closeout here in the corner by Mo Diabate. I believe it ends up coming around to DeVries, and then Cam Williams, just excellent all game. I mean, look, he's physical. Yeah. He's bothering him. He's staying with him. And then the way Brandon Garrison is playing there, like it's aggressive. It's often wrong and never in doubt. Like that first move at DeVries as he's kind of spinning back, like maybe DeVries can kind of kick it around him and then you give up a dunk. Like maybe, but he didn't. Guess what? Because Garrison came at him so hard, like it kind of scared DeVries for a second. Like I think it took him back. Like, oh shoot, this guy's here. Now I got to figure out what to do with it. So now, and then BG did a good job of kind of backing away and kind of
maybe a kickball, but we won't talk about that.
Playing in between, and then he's just active. And then I love the way, like when he grabs this, like I love that right there. Like that is like that is when you know that some of this stuff that we're all talking about and getting yelled at in practice and all that kind of stuff, like that's when you know that stuff is clicking. Because like that play meant something to Brandon Garrison.
He's having fun, man.
Yeah,
he's having fun.
He's like, hey, you know what? Like I just made a freaking awesome play, and he should be thinking that. Like that's really good stuff, and I'm proud of him for showing some emotion after that. Of like, hey, like I worked really hard for this, and I've gone through some adversity. I've been yelled at. I've been benched. I've had Zach Gagan tell me I should never play again, and like
carries a lot of weight.
Yeah, and then here we go. It's awesome. Like that and it wasn't just BG in that play. Like I said, I mean, it was really all five guys at some point on that play did their job. And sure, like, somebody on the message board will say, well, that's what we're paying them to do. Well, great. But like, if we're going to sit here and criticize them, then let's give them some flowers when they do what they're supposed to do. And I think that's, we saw some real strides of doing what they're supposed to do on Saturday against Indiana.
And then straight into the fun stuff here. Yeah.
I mean, yes. Pause it right here. Like, it's a wide open layup, man. Like,
missed a couple of them.
Yeah, like just make the layup. Like if you're going 14 to 29 on layups, you're going to lose to a lot of good teams. Like you got to be better. But like I did say, you can't make them if you don't shoot them. And Kentucky shot a lot more layups against Indiana than they pretty much have against anybody all season. Not just the quad 1 opponents, but even the quad 4 opponents. It's not a coincidence that came with Jaylen Low back in the game. And then Mo Diabate. Like this doesn't even
what
make
can
sense.
You say?
Like. I feel like that me from row U in section 29 or wherever I was, I feel like I had as much of a chance of getting this offensive rebound as Mo Diabate. And not only did he get it, but he scored. And man,
he didn't even jump.
That pop and
he was just bigger than everyone. Yeah.
I mean, you were there. I was there. It was loud.
Yeah. I mean, you can see these crowd, like the fans, the students there, like that was how we were all feeling. That's just, you have to have him. Like you and I have both been beating the drum all season of like, we have to see this team with injuries before with a fully healthy roster before we judge. Like, is the ceiling maybe as big as high as we originally thought in the preseason? Probably not. Definitely not. I think that's probably totally fair to say at this point. But this is not a team that when healthy is like not going to make the tournament. I would think like. They just beat a tournament team. Like Indiana's probably going to make the tournament. So having Mo Diabate back, having Jaylen Low back, like these two guys right here, like the play we're talking about is because of these two. So it's just important to have all your guys healthy. And like these are two starting level players. Like whenever Jaylen Low is healthy enough to start, I don't know what that baseline is for criteria that he has to meet, but hopefully he meets it soon. You just have to have these guys in and playing lots of basketball before I feel like we can accurately judge what this team's going to look like. And you saw in the second half here, in particular, like this is why you brought in Jaylen Low. This is why you brought in Mo Diabate. Like they're not perfect basketball players. They're probably not star players. Diabate in particular, but especially Diabate is going to fight every single time. And like his post game press conference, I thought was really fun to listen to. And if you haven't listened to it, it's on KSR. Like go listen to like Mo was basically just like, man, I just told the guys like, man, this sucks. Losing sucks. Losing this way sucks. And whenever I play, y'all are not going to play with the lack of effort that we've seen so far. Like we're going to play how I want to play, and how I want to play is like a bully. And you all need to feed off me, and that's how we're going to play. Like we're not losing like this anymore. We're just not.
It's a dude that's played in the Final Four. He knows exactly what it feels like to experience greatness.
Yes, and we saw it in this second half. So it's just very important to have all your guys healthy. Like these are guys you're paying a lot of money to be here, so they need to be healthy and need to play, and they are right now. And you saw that it was just one game, but like we'll see what happens against St. John's. But I think we're encouraged, at least from the second half in particular, of how Kentucky played. Does this play go on after this timeout that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah. So there's a timeout because Rupp explodes. IU needed a break. But then the very next defensive possession is worthwhile. Here's why. It's just another high-level kind of all five guys doing a good job. Jaylen Low fighting over that screen once again there. Mm-hmm. Cam Williams being Cam Williams. Then Brandon Garrison, again, aggressive. Like, does he need to be helping on
wrong,
that?
Never in doubt.
I don't know. And then just active hands, active feet, like the way he's moving around. I mean, that is what playing really hard looks like. And again, yeah, like I hope that today's December 16th. I hope when we do Zoom action on January 16th and February 16th that we're not spending half of an episode talking about how excited we are that guys played hard. Like, I get it. Like, we shouldn't have an episode where that's like the exciting part, but it is today, and that's okay. Like, things didn't go very well. That there were problems with Kentucky for a little bit. We fixed some of them. Like, it's okay to celebrate that while understanding that hopefully going forward, now that's kind of the new baseline. And I think that's what Kentucky needs Saturday to be. Like, yeah, are we hanging a banner because we beat IU at home? No. But is it the first very crucial and what's the right word? Like, it's the first exciting step towards things that we then can get excited about next. Like, okay, yeah, Indiana's not that great. It's not a top 25 team, but it was a quad one win. So that's kind of the first checkpoint. Well, now you play St. John's, who's another quad one team, and it is a top 25 team. You beat them. Well, now, okay, you go see what happens at Alabama when SEC plays. Like, you start building these little checkpoints. And you can't get to the next one until you cross the first one. And we crossed the first one on Saturday, kind of for the first time all year, where you had something to genuinely feel good about. So I think that's why it's important to show some of these clips and talk about some of the small things that we're talking about. Again, not because playing hard and beating IU was some earth-shattering revelation, but it is based on what we have been seeing. And I think as long as you build on it and like I said, let this become the benchmark, let this become the norm, then we'll have much more exciting things to talk about down the road.
Well, and if they didn't show the kind of level of physicality that they did in this game, what makes you think they're going to show it against St. John's, especially a Pitino coach team that is going to be rough? So that, I don't know how that game's going to go against St. John's. I don't know if Kentucky's going to win or not. They probably won't be favored. But you saw some of those things that you had to see in order to believe that Kentucky can beat St. John's. You had to see some of that stuff against Indiana, and you did. So, all right, let's move on to our last little bit here. This is and actually, let's because we didn't really talk about it, but this play here, like, again, more Low and Diabate, like just Jaylen Low dribbling around, finding, like, there's no one on the team that can make this pass. There's just not. And he's able to sneak it around a bunch of Indiana guys to Mo Diabate, who misses another layup. But I mean, I would imagine that 14 or like 7 of those 14 missed layups and dunks ended with Kentucky still scoring. because Mo Diabate or somebody was there to kind of clean it up. Yeah, so just another little Low and Diabate love there. Like, kind of did a little two-man game there. Like, this is another situation where the screen from Mo was like just not really there, but I guess it worked. So just an immediate slip there, but Jaylen Low's good enough to be able to wiggle his way around, and then Mo's just being big. So, yeah, let's go to our next play here. You can talk on that a little bit if you want to while I'm finding it, Brandon.
This is completely off topic. I just had to laugh. Our chat right now is discussing who the next New York Giants coach is going to be. I don't really know how we got there, but I just had to had to point that out. It was hilarious.
Oh, let me look through the chat here. Do we have any questions? I haven't seen any. I know I see we got Holly in here. I think she's a big fan. Captain Crash.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
we got some good
yeah.
regulars.
Holly called me a meanie. I was a meanie. I fully admit I was a meanie to Brandon Garrison for that. I don't see like any questions. Steven's not here with us, so we're kind of running things solo right now. But anywho, let's get to our last little play here. This is spoiler, another Jaylen Low to Mo Diabate masterclass here. So just kind of a simple set here. I'll just let it run here, Brandon. I'll let you talk. Kind of the same stuff, like just a pick and roll. Jaylen Low has no vision here, but is able to find Mo Diabate for an and one. And this was pretty much like the moment that everyone knew that Kentucky, I think, was probably going to win this game because they were just like that might have been the very end of the 17-2 run, or like kind of towards the very end of it, because Kentucky was able to get up to double digits there. But just Brandon, what do you like about this?
It's having your really good players back in the game. Like this is just Jaylen Low being a pretty darn good point guard, being a pretty darn good playmaker. Like there's no set play here. There's no offense. Coach Pope didn't tell him to do this. This isn't like something you walk through in practice. This is just a early high ball screen. Actually was a pretty physical screen there. It got some separation. And then it's just it's the one guy on this team who can routinely get paint touches, who can routinely get downhill and get penetration, that can routinely draw the attention of multiple defenders. Like you want to know why it's been hard for Kentucky to run offense all season? It's because essentially like you just had to kind of guard your guy. Like there wasn't a whole lot to worry about. The offense wasn't putting the defense in situations where they had to make decisions. And now with Jaylen Low, he puts the defense in decision-making mode. Like, do I come stop the drive? Do I need to get out on a shooter? Is somebody cutting to the basket? Do I need to worry about somebody rolling to the rim? And this is all happening while Jaylen Low is dribbling a million miles an hour, maybe going to lay it up on you. So I think those are the things that just make him so valuable to this team, and certainly make him valuable to everybody around him getting better. And once again, I talked about with Aberdeen, I talked about with Cam Williams, a few of these other guys. Great cut by Mo Diabate here earlier in the season. Again, it was a standing problem, and it was a standing problem with guys that probably should be cutting. Like I don't want Mo Diabate to catch it on the perimeter. I want him to catch it here and lay it up. So it's really good to see this. And obviously, this was just yet another exciting moment at Rupp Arena as Kentucky pulled away. But I do see one question here in the comments. Says, Brandon, what is the difference between low dribble penetration versus Aberdeen penetration? Why is one more effective than the other? I would say first and foremost, and this isn't completely fair because I touched on this earlier. Like Aberdeen has been able to get some penetration. Now I think a lot of that came against some of the weaker opponents when he can kind of be more physical, be more athletic, and get to his spots a little bit easier. So I think part of it would be, quite frankly, Low gets a lot more real penetration than Aberdeen does. He gets to spots on the floor that Aberdeen doesn't. And then I think also Jaylen Low has an ability to keep his dribble alive and kind of read the defense from that live dribble. Whereas when Aberdeen, even if and when he did get to the paint, then it was kind of like, okay, I sort of just need to shoot this because that's the only thing that I'm comfortable doing. And that's why we've seen sometimes where I don't really think it's selfishness from Denzel Aberdeen, but sometimes it comes across as that because you can screenshot it and see, hey, somebody's standing open in the corner, somebody's standing open on the perimeter, and Denzel Aberdeen's kind of taking a low percentage shot. I think it's mostly just because quite frankly, he's not comfortable reading all of that from a live dribble. So the easiest thing to do, sort of the pressure release in your mind, is, I'm just going to pull up and shoot a 10-foot J, and I make enough of them. Like, nobody's going to really scream at me and tell me it's a terrible shot. Whereas Jaylen Low can process all that. He can read all of that while also getting to spots that other people on this team just really aren't getting to.
Yeah, and I think there's a good example from this game where Denzel had a great one-on-one situation where he got his guy on the wing and he had a mismatch and he found his way down to the baseline, and then it looked like he had a potentially, had himself in a good situation, but then just like I said, the processing isn't there, and he ends up throwing up a layup that just goes straight to the moon and doesn't even hit anything on its way down. So whereas with Jaylen Low, he's able to find a guy like Mo Diabate cutting, and really had two guys right in front of his face too, and was able to wrap it around. Another nice small note, just another good steal from Malachi to be able to just give Mo a little bit more space there. I think that's 11. Is that Trent Sisley? Was that his Indiana Elite teammate?
Yeah, that's his buddy.
Indiana Elite teammate. You and I both watched them win a championship in Adidas 2 summers ago. I think that's what it was.
We sure did.
So that's kind of a funny little note, but yeah, so that's a good question. Let's see. Are there any other big ones in here or anything like that? I don't think so. But yeah, so that was a good one there. Was there anything else from this play that we wanted to talk about, Brandon, or are we ready to start winding things down here?
Nothing else from this play. I'll ask you this, Zach, because you're in press conferences and stuff. I'm obviously not. Luke5295 does ask about Low and Mo starting. Has Pope said anything about when he expects these guys to start? Sorry if you've already addressed this. We haven't really. We've addressed it to the fact that I think I can speak for Zach. We both want them to start. We both think they probably should start sooner rather than later. But I don't know, Zach, do you have anything from recent press conferences? Has he really been asked that or addressed that?
Yeah. So he was kind of asked about that, I think, on his the pre-Indiana press conference. So that was Thursday or maybe even Friday. He was asked about starting Low, and basically said that he doesn't care who starts, was pretty much his exact words, is he cares who plays well. He said that it's going to be kind of a game by game thing. I imagine as Low continues to get himself back into honestly, I'll be shocked if Mo Diabate is not starting on Saturday against St. John's, and I think I'd kind of be shocked as well if Low's not starting, because I think you'll just need both those guys to kind of get their feels immediately. But Pope has been very non-committal about that, about moving guys back into starting or moving around the starting lineup in that way. So he was very open in his last press conference saying that he doesn't really care who starts right now. So, and he also said in that same press conference that he still wants to try and play 12 guys. But these are all, Brandon, if you've taught me one thing, Brandon, it's don't always listen to these coaches in the press conferences. There's a lot of just coach speaking.
It doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, so because if we just go off Coach Pope's comments, you think Jaden Quaintance isn't going to play for another month, the way he kind of word salads it. So, but obviously that's not going to be the case.
I would also say too, I want them to start. I think they probably should start. To Coach Pope's point, and I think that sometimes coaches fall into the trap of saying I don't really care who starts, and then it ends up kind of mattering. If you look at the
Reed Shepard and Rob Dillingham,
right,
should have been starting for Kentucky. 100%. Yes.
But then, if you look at the minutes from Saturday's game, Jaylen Low and Mo Diabate played the third most minutes on the team, 24 minutes, and that's only one less than Denzel Aberdeen at 25. So, and there were guys in the starting lineup that played 11 and 16 minutes. So, as long as you're getting to those, I probably think that 22 to 24 minutes for Mo probably is about right. It's quite frankly, he's probably going to foul too much to play a lot more than that. He plays too hard.
Yeah, I was about to say, he plays way too hard.
And we saw how effective he can be. You give me 14, 12, and 5 steals and play you 22 minutes, and I'll sign up for that every day and twice on Sunday. I think Jaylen Low probably should play more 30 minutes. So I think, if starting him gets him an extra rotation that allows him to go from 24 to 30 minutes, then that would be good. But I will say, just from Saturday's point of view, those guys played plenty of minutes. Did they start? No. But in terms of a minute standpoint, they played more minutes than everybody else. So I will kind of say, all right, who cares if they started it or not?
Yeah. Oh, I played all 20 minutes of the second half. So like, by the time when the saying could be it doesn't start no matter who starts games, it matters who finishes games. The guys that were playing their best were finishing the game. So,
Yeah.
but again, it gets into the whole back and forth battle of are you digging yourselves holes, things like that. But
Right.
that's for
Yeah.
Coach Pope to figure out. So, one other thing I want to note here is love the celebrations.
Yeah.
Like we talk we talk about the chemistry and do these guys like each other, blah blah blah, whatever. They I think they enjoy playing basketball together. Like you've got Cam pumping up over here, you've got Ortega pumping up, all the guys on the bench are pumping up. Jaylen Low's doing the goggles thing. Yeah, Jaylen Low flexing a couple times, which is like
That's on him, buddy.
I was like, I guess. I mean, it looks like he quite literally looks like that's what I would look like if I were out there flexing on college basketball players. Because like, so, but hey, good for him.
You're probably taller than Jaylen Low.
We actually are the exact same height and weight if you go off
Well, there we
UK
go.
stuff. So, or no, I think he's 6'3" or listed 6'3". I don't think he's 6'3" though. He's probably a little bit shorter than that. But
I'm looking. Yeah, 6'3", 170 is what.
yeah, I'm 6'1", 170, whatever around there. So, and I'm like stick and bones. So I don't know how he's like. If you wonder why Jaylen Low's missing layups, that's just go look at that 170 number on his on the UK Athletics roster, and that'll probably help explain it for you. But. All right, I think we're gonna wind things down here. Is there any more last second questions? We could probably sneak in another one or something like that. Or is there anything in general you want to get off your chest, Brandon, before we get you out of here?
No, I know. I mean,
Any St. John's takes?
I mean, it's going to be the most physical game we've probably played this season. There's going to be, some additional, emotions to the game, just because, I mean, not necessarily for the players, but I think the players will feel it. Like Coach Pope is an emotional guy, and I don't think he's going to hide from the guys how much this game means to him.
Yeah.
And I hope that then, gets kind of personified in a positive way. And I don't mean that in like that I'm questioning whether Coach Pope can prepare them for that. I'm just saying, like, I think the players are going to feel that this is an important game to Coach Pope. And I just kind of hope that then, leads to them playing really hard and playing with some of their own emotion, and those things really, come together on the court. But I'm optimistic, as I'm certainly much more optimistic than I have been the last couple times that we've seen it, because as you and I have said, like, it was okay to be frustrated along the way because losing stinks. Like, it doesn't matter who you're playing, what guys are in the games, but like we also all deserve to, kind of keep in the back of our minds, hey, we're missing really, really important pieces. And we saw just how important a couple of those pieces were, especially in the second half against Indiana. And then, like, don't downplay the fact that we're about to add a stinking NBA lottery pick to this mess. Like, I mean, I said it in our group chat the other day. I mean, like, I hate that sometimes it probably comes across that, like, I'm talking down to BB, and I really don't mean it that way. I'm almost just kind of poking fun at myself and all of us of like, we are crazy, and like we do almost make it harder on ourselves sometimes. We're like, we downplay our own success while everybody else, like, if imagine like if UConn, well, actually we don't have to imagine, Braylon Mullins didn't play the first like 8 games. Guess what? He's a future NBA lottery pick.
Yeah.
If you talk to a UK or UConn fan, the only thing they would say for the first 8 games was, just wait till we get Braylon Mullins back. And like, and half of us were like, well, gosh, I hope he can be half of what he was last year. It's like, no, like, I hope he's the best player in the country. That's what I'm thinking. Like, the dude's like 9th on a mock draft today. So like, I mean, I'm pretty excited when you see the impact that Low and Diabate had. Like, man, I'm pretty excited to what it could look like when Jaden Quainitz is in there, because that dude's a beast.
Yeah, if you haven't watched any Arizona State tape from last year, just go watch some of the highlights. Like, he's unlike anything in college basketball in terms of his ability to just be an athletic defensive freak. So he's going to be awesome. I'll let Jack Pilgrim break the scoop of whether or not he plays on Saturday, or if he's going to wait until Bellarmine or maybe after that. But boy, it sure would be nice to see him go out there for 15 minutes against St. John's, just to kind of see what he's got, and then really unleash him, starting with Bellarmine, and then get him going into SEC play. So he's another potential starter. Like, 3 starters. You've been in and out of the lineup for the whole season. The 4-starter, Tagovailoa, 10 weeks with turf toe from August through September, or whatever it was. Like, that stuff matters. It does, as much as it sucks. And I think part of the issue was just Kentucky had they went with the whole depth part, the $22 million, like they invested in having a bigger, longer team. So like, it's probably a little bit different than like, let's see an Arkansas team that's probably, at 8 guys at most that Cal's running. Like, if they lose 2 guys, then they're just screwed because they don't have anyone else to play. Whereas with Kentucky, if 2 guys go down, well, it's like, well, we have all these other guys that have been paid $1 million. Like, they should be able to come in and play as well as the starters, which, that you can chalk that up to whatever you want, whether it's, just poor evaluations or things like that, or just guys just aren't as talented as you expected it to be. But like, that's just the situation Kentucky's in. So, but they're getting healthy again. They're starting to finally get healthy. So let's just cross our fingers and hope it stays that way. But we'll see what happens on Saturday if Jaden Quaintance goes or not. Even if he doesn't, I still think I do think Kentucky has a chance to win that game. So we'll see if everything has carried over from this Indiana game, if Kentucky has learned from the first 9-10 games of the season prior, if they've learned how to actually find their identity, whether that's just being an all-out physical defensive team. Maybe that's what they kind of lean into, and we'll see what happens on Saturday against St. John's if that ends up being the case. But for myself, Zach Gagan, from Brandon Ramsey, this has been another episode of KSR's Zoom Action, and now I'm going to try and end the stream without messing it up. Peace, y'all.